Hello everyone. So in this video, you will learn the entire vendor management flow. So for that, you need to click on this vendor option. You need to click on the plus button. Initially, you need to enter vendor name and number. So I will write as dummy vendor, and then you will need mobile number as well. So I will write one dummy number, and then I will click on save, then submit. So the vendor will be added in the vendor section. Now the second thing is, after adding a vendor you can edit it. So if you are clicking any vendor on a vendor, so you will see this vendor detail. So later you can edit. So maybe you want to add the vendor type, then his working model, email address, GST, PAN. So you would be able to edit, but initially you need the this vendor name and mobile number. And in this particular section you would be able to see the projects which is assigned to a vendor, and in this particular tab it will basically show you the attachment. Maybe you are someone who used to keep GST, PAN card and other data of a vendor, so for that this particular tab is for you. You can have the entire document and data of your vendor in this particular page, right? So this is basically to add a vendor and to do the actions in the vendor tab. Next is how to align a vendor to a particular project. So the first thing is you need to come to the project section by clicking on this project option. Then you need to click on a project. So today I will be using this particular project. In the financial planning tab, you would be able to align a vendor. So already I have aligned these two vendor. I will align one more vendor by clicking on this add vendor. Then I will align one vendor. You can see this vendor whom I have just added, right? So let's say I will just add this particular vendor only. Then let's say amount would be 100 and milestone would be, let's suppose, 2, and then submit. So this will be submitted. So later you can give the milestone name. So I will just write it as advance for milestone 1 and final payment for milestone 2, and let's say the percentage would be 50-50, and his work would be, let's say, modular kitchen, and then you can just save it. You can write the scope of work also, like what would be his work. Let's say his work would be to provide raw material. So you can just write it and then you can just save it. So this will be saved. Now, how to pay a vendor? Maybe you are going to pay some amount to this particular vendor. Now, how to do that? You can do this from petty expense. So come to this petty expense, then this plus button, and select that particular project. So my project was Pro Project Nirmika, so I will just use it. And in this vendor drop down, now you would be able to see all the vendors whom you have aligned from this financial tab. Not all the vendors whom you have added in the vendor tab, but only those vendor who are aligned. So currently only these 3 vendors are aligned to this particular project, so I will just select one of them whom I want to pay, and let's say the amount I will be paying is 50, and rest things are optional, so I'm just skipping it, and then I will just save it. So after saving, if I go to my expenses hyperlink, if I click on this, I would be able to see that this particular vendor has been paid by rupees 50, right? So yeah, now you can have this entire data in the vendor tab as well. So you can just come to this vendor, then this dummy vendor, and if you go to this vendor project, you would be able to see that this is the project whom which this vendor is particularly assigned, and this is the agreed amount, and this is the disbursed amount. If you click on this, you would be able to see that on which date, which person, or what was the expense mode he has given the amount. So you will be having this entire data. So this is your entire vendor management flow.